Jason Prebble.
My name is Richard Waite. I started my broadcasting career back in the '60s. As a matter of fact, they started a radio station in the town that I graduated from high school, and that was in Excelsior Springs, Missouri. And they started a radio station, and I knew a guy who knew a guy who was connected to the people that were bringing in the radio station. And so he asked me if I wanted to do some play-by-play football because I played football in high school, and I said sure. And then I went into the radio station and did an afternoon DJ show and did some selling of radio time. Then I went to work in Liberty, Missouri, which is a Kansas City suburb, and I also worked in radio stations in St. Joseph and Atchison, Kansas. And then I got into television and was an anchor in St. Joe and a reporter. And then in Sioux City, Iowa, I was a news director and had a staff about 12 people, 12, 13 people, and also, did the 10 o'clock news. But that's how I got into broadcast. I'm excited about this opportunity. I think that Jason Prebble is a tremendous young man and a fine driver. And Jason, come on into the broadcast now, if you would, if you can, and let's talk. What do you think? Huh?
Yeah, definitely. Well, you certainly remember your career a little bit better than even I do at this stage.
Anyway, tell me about your story. How did you get started in this? What got you into it?
Yeah, I always love telling this story because it's a classic, but at the same time you wouldn't see it coming. But anyway, my grandfather, he had gone to Road America races, things like the June Sprint, stuff like that, back when SCCA was in its real prime, where it was essentially a pro series. And he and his friends just loved going to the races. June Sprints was the biggest. They went to the vintage weekend. Eventually there came a time where he had brought my father over to the races to Road America. And then, of course, it was my turn. My first race was actually a motorcycle race at Road America. But
how old were you, Jason?
Oh, no. I think 4 or 5, so I was pretty young.
Wow.
And we were camped in the carousel. And those who know the layout of Road America, you've got the carousel, which is turn 9. And then in between turn 7 and 8, there's actually a kartplex. And they're pretty close together, even for how large of a track Road America is. And, it caught our eye. We saw people driving it, and I'm a sports nut. My sister's a sports nut. The kids in this family are sports nuts. And my dad, with all due respect, likes to play with computers and cars. Not as much of a sports guy, but there is one sport that we can think of that we agree on, which is racing. So while my dad was trying to figure out, what to do with his son, he found racing. He reached out, I think, on Facebook, asking if anyone was willing to lend us a cart for a day to see if I was interested in driving a cart, if I liked it, things like that. Someone was nice enough to lend us a cart, and it kind of snowballed from there. It was an amazing first day. That's one of the things I still remember doing, even from so long ago. And yeah, it was just a blast.
So it was your grandpa Joe that got you into it.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know if he was at the first race I went to, or the first race I watched, but it is his fault. Yeah.
And you're happy that he did.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a blessing for sure. I'm really happy that I'm involved in this. I can't imagine how. Yeah, sorry.
Do you remember? It's okay. Do you remember how when you first started? Were you racing to win, or was it just the thrill of racing when you first started? Tell me about your first win that you had racing.
Um, I must have been racing to win because the first race I ever drove was my first win. I think something like 10 carts only, kid kart class, and this is another great story. It started in all sorts of ways, but I was quick right out the gates. There was a lot of new drivers that season, and I guess I was the quickest for the first race of the year. The chassis we had was a old, I think 99 top cart, and it was cracked, which we didn't know, and we didn't know the significance of that. But coming around the last corner on the last lap, my chain popped off because of the chassis crack. It was flexing the chassis too much, and the chain got misaligned. So the chain pops off, and I just floor it, which obviously doesn't do anything but spin the clutch and ruin the motor. But I coast across the finish line and come to a dead stop right past the finish line, and maybe half a second later, second place crosses the line.
Wow.
So if you can think of it, it's like the Lightning McQueen scene where he pops his tires, and for the championship race, he's hopping across the finish line. That's exactly how it was. I was hopping in my seat trying to get to the finish line as fast as possible.
What
Um,
about the situation that you're in right now, where you get to go overseas? Is that are you nervous about it, or I mean, I know it's got to be exciting.
I'm really excited. I really don't have nerves coming into it because I just know that it's the right decision to make. With the position we're in, obviously the people that are watching this are aware that racing is about skill, obviously, because you're not going to get anywhere if you're not fast. But at the same time, it's about budgeting. It's about having the money to go race where you're meant to be racing. Um, Racing in the UK is a great decision because it's a lot cheaper in the long run, and it's really, really competitive. When you go to the UK and you come back to Americas, it's people have their eye on you because you went and you learned in the heart of racing. I've mentioned this a few times, but the UK is it's a hub for racing. It is the place to be. 7 out of the 10 F1 teams are based in the UK. I think it's 10% of the UK's economy is racing. So many people are devoted to racing, and the competition there is so high.
What about your most exciting racing memory?
I think it's tough to say because there's so many things I can look back on and say, oh, that wasn't as much of a challenge as it once was, or it wouldn't be as much of a challenge as it once was. And then obviously there's recency bias. Um, I have to say though that my most exciting racing memory as of now has been Road America like this past season in the Spec Racer Ford for the Cat Nationals at Road America. So as most people watching know, I was racing a 5-speed H pattern car, while a lot of people were driving the newer sequential 6-speed car. It's no lift shift versus me, where I had to clutch into shift and whatnot. And at a track like Road America, where straight line speed and drafting is so important, it made no sense that I would be anywhere near the top. I really shouldn't have been. And people even told me before the race had started that, you know, you might be fast because I had qualified second. You might be fast, but you know, I don't think there's any way you can win this just because the run up the hill, the straightaway, you're just not going to be able to. You're not going to be able to win because people are going to be faster. I think
Yeah.
when I was looking at data, I had been doing some coaching and stuff. Most cars that had the sequential were about 10 miles per hour faster than me at the end of the straightaway. So it was quite a big difference. Even when I was going maybe 2 seconds, 3 seconds faster a lap than them. Um, So we get to the race. There's clouds overhead, and I had a terrible, terrible start. I think I dropped down to eighth. It was just right in between gears, right in between second and third, and I couldn't pick, and I made the wrong choice. So get off, just get swarmed from people behind me, and had to be by lap two. I was already back up to third, and chasing down Jace Petty, who's a really quick 14-year-old kid, first season in that car, first season in a car. And he was leading the race, but he had already pulled out a pretty big gap, and I was starting to catch him, and then we got a full course caution, and coming up, I think that helped us catch him because he was about 3 seconds ahead. Race started again, and I was trying to lead as much as possible just because I didn't want my car to overheat, and it started to rain on the white flag lap coming into turn 5, that downhill corner, heavy braking zone after a big straightaway. I see the car behind me start to try and go for a pass, and I was already braking later than them, but I knew that I had to cover the inside because it was wet and the dry line was no longer viable. So he overshoots the corner trying to pass me, and then behind me they're going like 3 wide coming up to turn 6. I take it nice and slow. I almost get hit, but then they kind of collide into each other because it's wet and we're all on slick tires. So I get a lead of about maybe 2 seconds after that corner, and then go through turn 7. I see another car in my mirror spin out. Now I have an even bigger lead. Going through turn 8, I apex the corner, and there's these pretty big curbs, and my left rear toe link snaps. So there's on these cars, there's forged toe links. Basically, they keep the wheel straight on the rear end, and one of them just completely snapped. So the wheel was just like wobbling back and forth. Now, luckily, right as it snaps, they throw the full course caution because it's starting to rain. People are going off. It's terrible, right? And so while I'm sitting here driving like 50 miles per hour, I had to maintain pace car speed or else people were allowed to pass me. I'm like driving the car completely sideways down the straightaway, and then I drive like half a lap like this, and then we get the checkered, of course, because it's the last lap, and I just stop right after the checkered flag. It's so hilariously similar to my first race in the kid kart.
Uh-huh.
But it was an awesome weekend. I ended up winning the Saturday race or the Sunday race as well, so I got to sweep the weekend, and it was so much fun.
I think that what's coming up is going to provide in the UK a lot more memories for you, and hopefully, I'm sure, a lot more success. That's going to do it today. It's been a pleasure, Jason, and in the future we'll do it again. If you want to do it again, I'll do it again. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely. For the people watching, if you like this, let us know. I'm sure we'll do a couple more at least, but I'm loving doing this. So leave a like, comment, say something, let us know, and we'll keep going. But thank you. Yeah,
you bet. That's it for now from Jason Pribble Auto Sports, and have a good day.